back, Eagles fans. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Angry Birds Fans Hangout Podcast. And I'm your host, Hydro. Welcome back to another episode. And right now, the Eagles are sitting with a first round bye in the NFC playoff. And they're sitting on that number 1 seed, NFC East champions, on our road to the Super Bowl. So before we begin today, I want to give out shout outs to some of the players on the Eagles. I didn't get a chance to do this on the last episode. So I'm going to give shout out first to Jalen Hurts. Congratulate him so far on the season that he's had. Right now, I think PFF has him ranked as the number 2 quarterback. And I kind of agree with that. That's probably where he should be at right now, especially after missing those 2 games. But there are some other rankings out there that have him like at number 9, which is ridiculous. There's no way that he's a number 9 ranked quarterback in this league right now after everything he's done this year. I mean, I don't see any other quarterback, if they would have had a number 1 seed, first round bye in the playoffs, a 14-3 record, where they would be sitting at number 9 right now. I don't think that would ever happen. I mean, let's take, if Dak Prescott had that right now, he'll probably be ranked like number 1 over Patrick Mahomes or something. But I think right now Patrick Mahomes is number 1, Jalen Hurts number 2, and I think that's kind of fair where they should have him at, even after missing those 2 games. And I know with him missing them 2 games, he's not gonna win the MVP. I mean, that just gave them all the excuses to not give him that award, even though in my opinion he deserves it, because we all saw what happened when he was missing those 2 games. The team didn't look the same with Gardner Minshew at quarterback. And so to me, like, a most valuable player, that's what that means, is that if you took that player off that team, would the team be the same? And it wasn't the same with Jalen Hurts not being in that lineup. And I think he had 6 interceptions on the year, which I think he was leading out of all starting quarterbacks. He was leading prior to going into week 18, but he threw that 1 interception in the last game here against the Giants. And I think now he's tied for first place in interceptions and having the least interceptions thrown in the NFL this season. But he's played magnificent all year. He's played at MVP level. And a lot of these games that we have won were really on his, from putting the team on his back, I can say. So the next player I want to give shots out to is, of course, Miles Sanders for exceeding 1,000 yards rushing. I think I gave him props before and in previous episodes, especially when he did reach that mark. We haven't had one since LaShawn McCoy was here. And I mean, I'm not a stats person. I tell you, I don't like throwing out stats out there and everything, but I mean, just look at him run this year. He looks a lot different than he has looked in the past. And of course, he's struggled with injuries, and that was like my major concern with him going into this season. Was he going to be able to stay healthy? And he hasn't missed any games, which is, it's amazing for him, especially what he's been through since he's been here as a Philadelphia Eagle. So, and if you look at his stats, I think he's like 5th in rushing right now, and he's almost I think he's like 200 rushing attempts behind the leading rusher, which is crazy, because if you take he's about 100 rushing attempts. So if you take he averages like 4.8 or something, like 5 yards per carry. And that's not saying in every game, if we would have kind of increased his workload, he would have got those, those yards. But just imagine if he would at least have 50 more rushing attempts, he probably would have been number 3, probably at a minimum, because that's 50 more. If you, and just say we round it to 5, he averages 5 per carry, especially with Jalen Hurts on the field. I mean, that's almost 250 more yards in rushing. So he definitely would have been up there, like with Nick Chubb. Probably would have surpassed him if that would have been the case. But I mean, it's all hearsay. But I think we haven't really utilized them as much as we should have this season. And hopefully going into the playoffs, we utilize him more, because that would definitely open up our offense with him and Jalen Hurts both running the ball. And I think with Jalen being the runner that he is, and the offense is kind of built off of him being able to do those zone reads and RPOs and PPOs and stuff like that, it kind of takes away a little bit from, Miles Sanders being able to get more attempts. So I think the last 3 games, they kind of put him on a I'm not gonna say a snap count, but didn't want to increase his load, because I think he's been favoring a knee injury, so they probably didn't want him to get injured, so they didn't want to run him as much to kind of try to like preserve him for the playoffs. But I hope here they open up the playbook and give him the ball more as we go down this on this playoff road to the Super Bowl. So because we definitely need him. We need him to at least, get over 100 yards rushing in these games. They'll definitely open up our offense. And of course, I gotta give shouts out. I'll give shouts out to Devontae Smith first before I go to AJ Brown, because I don't think Devontae Smith is he's kind of like been in the shadows of AJ Brown since he's got here. And that's understandable, but you can't underestimate Devontae Smith. He would definitely be a number 1 receiver on somebody else's offense. And I think he's definitely, I don't look at him as a number 2. I think him and AJ Brown are both number 1 receivers. Like you definitely have to push rollover coverages to each one of these guys, because if not, one of them is going to kill you. And that's what they've been doing all season. And of course, Devontae Smith exceeded 1,000 yards in receiving. He should have got over 1,200. I don't know how we couldn't get them like 4 more yards or something here to, kind of like pad their stats a little bit. But man, having 2 receivers with over 1,000 yards, and with Dallas Goedert missing time, I think he had 700 yards. He might have reached 1,000 yards receiving. So we probably would have had 3,000 yards. Because he's not a receiver, but we would have had an offense that had 3 players with over 3,000 yards in receiving. That would have been crazy. So I gotta give props to him. Now AJ Brown, give props to him because he broke the Eagles all-time receiving single season receiving record that Mike Quick had. I give props to him. He's been a great addition to our offense, and like I said, I think he's kind of opened up things more for Devontae Smith. And I think with them both being out there on the field, they open up stuff for each other. And I think them 2 being 2 number 1 receivers is kind of hard to, like, you're gonna have to pick your poison. Who are you gonna take? Who you gonna take out of this game? Who you think is gonna hurt you the most? You try to take AJ Brown out, guess what? Devontae Smith is gonna hurt you. And Devontae Smith, man, he can catch anything thrown to him. I think I've rarely seen him drop any passes this year. Like if the ball hit his hands, he was bringing it in. And that's one thing I can say he probably has over AJ Brown is that, I seen, AJ Brown has dropped some passes this year, but Devontae Smith definitely has them hands. Like if the ball touches it, I don't know if he got glue on them gloves or something, but man, that ball sticks to him when it touches his hands. So the offensive line, I will probably put them all in together because they've done a great job on the offense and protecting Jalen Hurts and opening up the running game. Lane Johnson, of course, is it's definitely missed since he's been injured, but you could tell he's kind of like he's he can't be replaced, man. Like, I mean, Jack Driscoll is not great, but he's not bad. But Jack Driscoll could probably start on another team as a right tackle, but when you're playing behind a future, Hall of Famer in Lane Johnson, your play doesn't look as good as his, so all eyes are on you. And of course, you're not going to do what Lane Johnson does. He doesn't, allow any pressures on the quarterback. But if you allow pressure on the quarterback, then boom, you're considered like less than him. I mean, it's just kind of hard, man. I can't fault that guy. He's out there working, but he's replacing a future Hall of Famer who's really good at what he does, and hopefully we get him back by the time playoffs start. So let's go to defense. I want to give a shout out to TJ Edwards. He's in the top 10 leading tacklers. He has been really good at tackling this season. I mean, in coverage, not so much. I mean, that's probably his weakest area, but he has improved a lot in coverages. He's been there. He's broken up a few pass plays, but still, I think that's one area he needs to keep working on. And if he can become a better coverage linebacker, man, he'll definitely get, he'll definitely be a Pro Bowl linebacker. Darius Slay and Bradbury, shouts out to them for being like the top two cornerbacks in the NFL, because without those guys, man, I don't know if we would have had the team we had this year and the defense that we've had. So, all right, so that's enough of the shot. I just want to give a few shots out. I could be here all day, talking about the players on this team. So we're here to talk about the NFL playoffs. So the matchups have already been made. We know who's playing each other. The only question is, who are the Eagles going to be playing come next week? And we will not find that out probably, well, we could find out this weekend before Monday, depending on who wins. But we probably definitely won't find out until Tuesday. So if we look on the slide at the bracket, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers play Dallas. The Minnesota Vikings play the New York Giants, and San Francisco 49ers play the Seattle Seahawks. These are they've already played each other during the season, but of course, during the season play doesn't matter when it comes to playoffs. Each team, they come out with different schemes, different looks. They open up the playbook more. Some teams take more chances because they know that it's one and done. You lose, you're out. So they're willing to take more chances. They're willing to do more things that they weren't willing to do during the regular season because they knew it could kind of affect their playoff rankings or their chances in making the playoffs. So things open up more during the playoffs. So let's talk about these matchups. And I'm gonna give two predictions. One's gonna be the prediction that everybody probably thinks that it's gonna be, and then I'm gonna give my bold prediction. So Tampa Bay and Dallas. Tampa Bay beat Dallas earlier. I think that was the first game I think of the season. Tampa Bay kind of pretty much shut them out, which is kind of weird when now you look at the way the season went and look back, because Tampa Bay really throughout this whole season they have not been a really good team. I mean, they actually have a losing record right now, but we know as Eagles fans that doesn't matter because we can get into the playoffs and you can still win that first round because we done it. I think we did it in 2018. We did it. We didn't have a great record, but we were able to make it into the playoffs. We beat the Chicago Bears and made it on to the next round, and everybody had us losing in that first playoff game. But if you look at the way these two teams are playing now, I mean, Dallas is definitely, they're playing a lot better than what they played in that, at the beginning of the season. But in this last game against Washington, they didn't do too well. They had it, and they played everybody. They didn't sit any starters. They had their starting offense, their starting defense, and Washington dusted them like it was not even close. So I like Dallas. You can't really. They're very unpredictable because they can come out and play an excellent game, blow teams out, and then in the next game they look horrible, barely win the game. Like the Texans game, they should have lost that game because the Texans should have scored a touchdown when they intercepted Dak, and that would have been another loss they would have had. But I don't think they should have won that game. That should have been the game they should have lost. They actually got really, really lucky that the Texans messed up in the red zone in that game. But if I had to take the way these two teams are playing, I would say that Dallas should beat Tampa Bay. Dallas should beat Tampa Bay. And at this point, if Dallas does beat Tampa Bay, then we would play Dallas in the divisional round. So we go to Minnesota, New York, the New York Giants. This is a tough one because Minnesota's they're like Dallas. Like they play good. Like most of their games have been really close or they've been blown out by other teams. Like a lot of their wins have been like one possession or like, one score wins. But with a team like that, they're used to winning and grinding and win out. In a lot of these playoff games, that's how it's going to be. You might have to grind a win out. So that might work in favor for Minnesota. But New York Giants are the same type of team. They don't play well like the whole game, but then when it comes to the fourth quarter, boom, they wake up and that's it. They're next thing you know, you're down with like 50 seconds left in the game and probably wondering how the heck did we get here? And that's the type of team the New York Giants are. But as of right now, with my normal predictions, I'm going to say that Minnesota edges out the New York Giants. I think the New York Giants defense might have problems stopping Justin Jefferson. He might have a big game against them. That would be really their point of if Justin, I guess that'll be the defining factor. And if they win that game, if Justin Jefferson has a bad game, they lose. And Kirk Cousins, well, of course, Kirk Cousins has to get him the ball, but if Justin Jefferson had a big game, then that means Kirk Cousins doing his thing. So, but if Justin Jefferson is not having a good game, they might lose that game. So I'll say Minnesota, and in that case, they'll be playing the winner of San Francisco and Seattle. Another interesting matchup because this will be their third time seeing each other this season. Of course, not this year. We're in a new year now, but It'll be the third time seeing each other this season. As we all know, it's hard to beat a team 3 times in one season, especially being divisional opponents, because you kind of know each other. You know your strengths, you know your weaknesses. You just have to execute and go out there and attack those areas and be successful. If not, I mean, you're probably not going to win the game. But in this case, that's what Seattle needs to do. Like, Seattle needs to find their weakness, find out how to disrupt their third string quarterback. I think Purdy is his name, and get him off his game. Like, pressure him, throw him off, make him make mistakes, and they could probably win this game. And of course, has Geno Smith has been playing pretty well this season. So if he goes into this game the way he's been playing for a majority of this season, they could win it. But I think San Francisco might be a little bit too much for them. And with the familiarity of the teams playing each other, I think San Francisco might have the upper hand because they have the better personnel. They have the better team. They have the defense that could or that can stop Geno Smith. So if I had to pick for my regular predictions, it would be San Francisco. So if San Francisco wins, that means they'll be playing Minnesota. And if Dallas wins, that means we'll be playing Dallas in the divisional rounds. So those are my regular picks. Now, let's go to my bold predictions. And you're probably gonna be like, man, Hydro, you smoking crack. You are smoking a lot of crack. But hey, these are playoffs, man. And I promise you, I haven't been drinking yet, and I ain't been smoking crack. So I'm not drunk and I'm not high. I'm level-headed right now. But these predictions are gonna make you think that something is wrong with me. So Tampa Bay, Dallas. I'm gonna say Tampa Bay pulls this one out because of Tom Brady. Dallas, for some reason, has problems with Tampa Bay, even though Dallas has the better team. I think Brady, especially if it comes down to a one possession game in the fourth quarter and Brady gets the ball, that's it. Dallas is going home. And if so we'll just say Dallas, Tampa Bay beats Dallas. Let's go Minnesota, New York. I'm going to say New York's going to win this game because they've been scrappy. Minnesota's is very unpredictable, like Dallas. They'll have good games, they'll have bad games. This could be a game that the New York Giants can take advantage of and really take it to the Vikings. I think the Giants will kill them on the ground. I think with a combination of maybe with Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones running the ball. And I think that's going to cause problems for the Minnesota Vikings on defense. And I think the New York Giants defensive front and their blitz packages that they do is going to cause Kirk Cousins problems. And he likes to turn over the ball when he's has pressure on him. So I see the New York Giants pulling this one out because they're going to cause Kirk Cousins to make mistakes. It's going to keep Justin Jefferson probably out of his game. But with the blitzing, though, it could open up some more for Justin Jefferson if Kirk Cousins can get him the ball. But I don't think it's going to happen. I'm going to say New York takes the win. Now, here's my big one. Y'all probably going to say I need to smack myself for this one. Seattle and San Francisco. Like I said, it's hard to beat a team 3 times. And Seattle with, Coach Carroll, and Geno Smith, the way he's been playing. They're not a team that's going to blow you out, but they're similar to like the New York Giants. Like they will take you down the stretch. And if you make any mistakes, they're going to make you pay for it. And they're going to win the game at the last minute. And I think this is what they're going to do to the San Francisco 49ers. I think it's going to be a grimy game. Well, it could be a grimy game if Seattle plays it right. They just have to disrupt Purdy. He might have issues going into this playoff game as a third string rookie quarterback who's never been in this position before. No, it doesn't matter how many weapons you have on your offense. If you can't get them the ball, I mean, they got to hope that Christian McCaffrey has a big game on the ground in this game. But Seattle, man, I think they're going to take this one. And guess what? If Seattle takes this game, we'll end up playing Seattle in the divisional round. And then it will be Tampa Bay against the New York Giants. Wouldn't that be crazy? That would be wild. That would be probably the craziest playoff picture or scenario that I would have seen in I don't know how many years if that happens. Like if all the lower seed teams win, and it'll be crazy if we play Seattle and Tampa Bay plays the New York Giants. That'll be crazy. And then it wouldn't be even more crazy if the New York Giants beat Tampa Bay and Tom Brady loses to the Giants again, like in the playoffs. Not necessarily Super Bowl, but in the playoffs. That would be crazy, wouldn't it? But those are just my bold predictions. So I'm not saying that it's going to happen. I'm just saying I think it can happen. I think it can happen. But if I had to put money on the playoffs, I would go with my first predictions that I did. I just call those my normal predictions because that's really, by looking at these teams, that's how it should go and how the season went. It should go that way. But in the playoffs, it gets crazy. There have been some upsets in the playoffs. And I mean, I think one of these games is going to be an upset. And if I had to choose a game that's going to be an upset, it would be Minnesota and New York. Because I think Tampa Bay can beat Dallas. But I think Tampa Bay can beat Dallas, and I think Dallas can beat Tampa Bay. It's going to be a close game. But I think New York can beat the Tampa Bay the Minnesota Vikings. I think they can. I think Minnesota out of most of these teams is probably the weakest team out of all these teams, other than maybe Tampa Bay. But even though they've had a better record, but I don't know. It's just some of their games that they've lost have not been in great fashion against good teams. They haven't played well. So in the playoffs, you're playing good teams. I mean, that's why they're here. So I can see that happening. So what do you think? Do you agree with my first predictions, or do you want to go with my crazy, bold prediction on who we might end up playing? So in my first prediction, I said we're going to be playing Tampa Bay. And that's who I want to play. I want Tampa Bay to win. I want to play Tampa Bay because I want to get revenge for our playoff loss last year. I want Jalen Hurts to beat that team. Put all them, because that's what everybody always goes back to, is Jalen Hurts didn't play well in the playoffs. He got, he doesn't play well under pressure. They found out his weakness. You take one thing away from him, and he's not the same quarterback. It's just like I want us to play them and I want Jalen Hurts. I just want to roll all over them and put all these rumors to rest. But of course, there'll be excuses. Oh, he played. They're not the same team they were last year. Okay, but you keep bringing up last year on why Jalen Hurts is not the quarterback because he can't win a playoff game. And he only played in one. And I mean, we don't have the same team we had last year. So it's definitely going to be different. But just let me know what you think. Do you agree with my first predictions that we'll be playing Tampa Bay? Or do you agree with my bold prediction that we'll be playing Seattle? If you have different scenarios, please let me know. And like I said, if you want to let me know, just hit me up at on Twitter at UMCIE. And if you want to hit you can hit me up there, comment, or send me a message and just tell me that, let me know that you heard this episode and that you're commenting on the playoffs. And then on the next episode that I do, I will let everybody know what your comment was or what your predictions are. Or if you want to come on the show, message me and let me know. I'll send you an invite. You can come on here and we can have a discussion about our birds. Like I said, I want to have discussions with you, the fans. This is a podcast made for fans. I'm a fan. I'm not a sportscaster. I'm not an analyst. I'm not none of that. I'm just a fan like you who like talking about my team, the Eagles. So if you want to come on here, just let me know. Send me a message. You don't have to do video. We could just do audio if you're shy. Don't want to be seen. But if you want to be heard, we could do audio. Or if you don't want to be heard, just send me a message and I'll do it for you. So you can also reach us on Facebook at Angry Birds Fans Hangout. Send me a message there. Follow us. But just let me know what you think. And so before we end this podcast, I want to give a shout out to some who are considered probably like the top fans of this week. And it's just my interactions with other Eagles fans. So I want to give a shout out to Max Hardwick. It's Capricorn season. Division champs, Birds, yeah. Can't say the real word, but Eagles Diva 215, Chasing Every Dollar 444, Fred Flores, Right or Wrong, Bree, and Miss Philly 215, and Philly Sports Gal. Y'all are the top fans of the week. So, I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your, your interactions and how you root for our Eagles, represent. So, I know there are plenty more fans out there that represent well, even better than me. So I just want to thank everybody who has subscribed to the podcast, who listens to this podcast. And if you're listening to this podcast, maybe on YouTube or viewing a video of it, please make sure you subscribe there on YouTube to get future content, and subscribe to the podcast. If you're out and about and you want to listen to it on your favorite platform. But other than that, next episode we'll be covering, we'll be out on Monday. We'll probably be covering who we're going to play, because we should know by then. By Monday I should know. It depends on how these other games, because Dallas and Tampa Bay play Monday night. So if these other two teams, if The so if Minnesota wins and San Francisco wins, then of course we're going to be playing the winner out of Tampa Bay and Dallas. But if Seattle wins, we're playing them. And if New York Giants wins and San Francisco wins, we'll be playing the New York Giants. So it doesn't matter who wins between Tampa Bay and Dallas. So we'll be playing New York Giants. So it all depends. But I'll come out with my next episode on Monday, and we'll probably have a pretty good idea of who we might play, and also I'll probably do how we got here to this point as the number 1 seed in the first round bye in the playoffs. So I'll probably do a road, Philadelphia Eagles road to the playoffs. So kind of discuss how we got here, as a team, and how we became NFC East champions, and getting a first round bye and being the number 1 seed in the NFC. So, like I said, again, thank you for those who are listening, who are subscribed. Let your friends know. Let's get together. And like I said, we're looking for this road to the Super Bowl. Hopefully it continues on and we get that second ring. So other than that, go Birds, fly Eagles, fly.